Guys, welcome guys on my YouTube channel. Today we are discussing the India and China tension in Ladakh. So this is the most burning topic at this time. So now start. So guys, this is a border dispute, and here we can see the what is the India requirement and China requirement. So let's see in this para where we can understand the whole things. Okay. So the China border can broadly divide into three sectors. First is Western India and China do not have the well-defined border. ठीक? And troops face off are the common along its 3,500 kilometer line of LAC. ठीक? And though not a bullet has been fired for decades Middle Eastern. Okay. And the Pashtun sector, which includes Ladakh, is governed by the Johnson Lines and making Aksai Chin occupied by the China. Here is the important point, Aksai Chin. In Jammu and Kashmir, the contents territory for India and the middle sector consisting of Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh, okay, is a relatively tranquil. And even map exchange between two countries have been taken based on the board and understanding of border. In the eastern sector, where the Indian control territory based off McMahon lines, and China claims Arunachal Pradesh is the part of southern Tibet. That is the point, southern Tibet. While India contested it, the McMahon line was drawn at the tripartite in 1930 to 1940 and Simla Convention attended by British India. Okay, so this is the basic dispute which is always raised by China in front of China to take the as a part of Arunachal Pradesh, and China always consider that the Arunachal Pradesh is the southern Tibet. Okay, and here the British India and Tibet and China and the problems. Tibet is involved and China is not signatory to this pact. Okay, so let's move on. Here you can see in this map. In this map, you can see very clearly the Jammu and Kashmir, and this is the separate western side. Okay, this is the western side which I'm talking about in the previous slide. Okay, so this is the 2,150 kilometers separate the Jandake from Xinjiang province of China. This, and the least controversial, the 625 kilometer boundary along Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. This is okay. The point of concern, India shares 4,050 kilometer with China, and the disputed orders add up to be 3,290 kilometers. And the 625 boundary along Himachal Pradesh and Uttarakhand. This is the Himachal and this is the Uttarakhand. Okay, and this is the Doklam, where the many times Indian forces and Chinese forces always it is the issue for various type of things, like they fighting each others, and some of our NSA always come to and going to for this solve these problems in previous time, NSA Ajit Doval, and this is the eastern, and this is the alongside of Arunachal Pradesh. This is the eastern, and Arunachal Pradesh, this border is connected with Tibet. So the China always always say that the Arunachal Pradesh is the part of southern Tibet. Okay, let's move on. The first point in India border relations. After 1962, India's wars, one of the longest standoff between the Indian and Chinese armies happened at the Sumandrunguchu near the Bhutan Tri junction. In the 1986, when the troops had an eyeball to eyeball stalemate. Okay, in 1988, then the Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi visited the Chinese Premier Deng Xiaoping in Beijing to mend ties. Okay, and bringing forward era of thawed hospitality. In this meeting with Gandhi, Deng said relationship between India and China had been very good in the 1950 but turned sour after a long period after that. In apparent the reference to the 1962 war, Deng told Gandhi that now has moment for the forget these unpleasant things and look to the future. In 2017, at Doklam, near the Bhutan Tri junction, the troops of India and China were engaged in 73-day standoff, triggering fear of war between the two nuclear armed neighbors. Okay, and the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese President Jinping held there the first informal summit in 2018. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Chinese, okay, and held the first informal summit in 2000 April 2018 in Chinese cities of Wuhan. And month off after the Doklam standoff in the summit, the two leaders decided that issue of strategic guidance to the militaries to strengthen the communication to the they can build trust and understanding. And the Modi and Modi and Jinping held the informal summit in Malappuram near the Chennai in October last year. The battle ties. So it is the summary of the first point in India-China border relations, where the many prime ministers go to China and try to solve the dispute between India and China. And this is the main duty of neighboring countries. They can resolve the all issue by talking, because if, for example, if we are living in a colony, then some issues erase between two neighbors. But what is the main solution? How to find the good solution? If you want to find the good solution, then you should to talk, because talk is the a very good solution for everything. War is a not solution for every problem. War is the last option. Okay, so talk is a good option. So our prime minister like Rajiv Gandhi and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, these two leaders uh, talk during their meeting for the border dispute with the Chinese president. And so this type of talks always comes after years, so because it is the important factor to our country. Okay, so we should understand the that is the only main point is the talk will dialogue. If dialogue delivery is a good by our minister, our prime ministers, then everything will solve in the future. No worry about the dispute will be take the form of war. Not, it is not an easy task, because war is a last option. First of all, the dialogues will give the output how to handle this situation. Okay. Okay guys, so in this slide we can see this is the point first and point second. In this point we can see, and in this month, what is the problem it is between India and China. And in spot one, the fighting between the both armies, and they are give the duty on the borders, but after some misconceptions, they fighting each others, and so troops involved 250, and in date May 5 to 6, okay, and injured the several both side, okay. And spot 2, where the Nakula sector Ahit or Mugtang Sikkim, okay, in 9 May, okay, troops involved 150, and injured 4 Indian and 7 Chinese. And in spot 1, Pangong TSO Eastern Ladakh. This is the point Ladakh. So in the news coming from Ladakh, that the tension day by day increasing between the India and China. So this type of news coming by the media channels. So I think this is the problems which is generated as we are discussing in the previous slides. Let's move on. Okay guys, in this slide we can see the Doklam issues. You can see very clearly in this map. These are the Chinese soldiers, okay, these are Indian soldiers. So this is the point where the China and Indian soldier uh, tension are generated in a Nathulla, okay, Nathulla Pass, and it is a Tawang near to Arunachal Pradesh, and China also claimed in a Bhutan. Okay, this is the red zone is the claimed by the China, and also this is the claimed by China. So this type of these are the soldiers who always create the tension between the border of two countries. Okay, the Siliguri corridors and Doklam and Chumbi Valley, the western sector, middle sector, eastern sector, and this is the point where we talking about that. Okay, this is the point where the India, if we see the Indian map, then we can see the clearly. This is the point where we can. This is the Arunachal Pradesh. Here is the border between India and Pakistan, or India or China. So this is the very clearly, this is the Indian border, and this is the whole Bhutan, and these Chinese come this point because this is the China border here, and so they're talking, and this is the Nepal also. So they talk not clearly actually between two leaders. So this type of issue always erased by two parties like Indian army and Chinese army. So this is issue is totally based on the political dialogues. If political dialogues will be correct, then everything will solve very easily. Okay, then there is no need of war. It will be a very important our leader to understand the critical situation, and they try to solve how to find out the right solution for two countries. Okay, moving on. In this slide, will tension diffuse? And this is the most important question between two countries. Okay, in the midst, the escalating the tensions, Army Chief General M.M. Narawane paid a quick visit to headquarters of 14 Corps in Leh on Friday and reviewed with the top commanders an overall security scenario in the region. In the last 1 week, local commanders of the both sides held at least 5 meetings during the which the Indian side took the strong note of the People Liberation Army (PLA) erecting a large number of tents in the area of Galwan Valley, and which India felt belonged to its side of the LAC, and India laid line of actual control, LAC means, okay. And India said the Chinese army was hindering the normal patrolling by its troop, okay, asserting that India has always taken a very responsible approach towards the border management. At the media briefing, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastava also strongly refuted Chinese contention that the tension was triggered due to the trespassing by the Indian force of Chinese force, and for the past 4 decades, and India and China have policed the border without firing a single bullet. Okay, and there are the hopes that the tension will diffuse without further escalation. This is the point very good as per of this para. Moving on. Build up troops and more surveillance. The tension between the India and Chinese force along the line of actual control in eastern Ladakh continue to remain high, with the troops from the both sides remaining engaged in eye-to-eye all situation in every areas. Okay, reports suggest that India has a further increased its strength in Pangong TSO and Galwan Valley, according to the military sources cited by the news agency. Okay, PTI, and moreover, surveillance of the area are reported being ramped up with the deployment of unmanned aerial vehicles. Meanwhile, China is said to have a gather around the 5,000 soldier on its side. Now you can see what does the China think about the India. This is the according to China map. This is the Chinese map, okay, not Indian map. So this is the POK, Pakistan occupied Kashmir. This is the J&K. This is the Aksai Chin. Okay, this is the western sector is divided in three: western, central, and eastern. Okay, and this is the some part of the Chinese army also controlled this border, and this is the eastern, and this is the Arunachal in the red point, which is done marked by the Chinese. That is they are the Chinese areas, disputed areas where we're talking about in the news. That is the disputed areas where the you can mark at the right red red areas. That is the disputed areas. Arunachal Pradesh, always China consider that is the Arunachal Pradesh is the southern Tibet part, okay, and not part only southern Tibet. That's the point always consider the China as their briefings. And this is the Aksai Chin, which is also be occupied by China. Okay, here is the glacier, Siachen Glacier. Here is the Ladakh, where the problems always generated between two forces. Okay, this is the disputed areas as I noted on the maps. You can see very easily and understand. And this is the McMahon line. This border called Arunachal Pradesh border between China, called it is a McMahon line. Okay. Now moving on. India-China commanders meet amid rising tension along LAC in the Ladakh. So by source of media, we can see the both army commanders talking with each other, but the dialogue delivery is important for overcome the tension of between both countries. So we can understand in this para the high level Indian and Chinese military commanders have meet at designated points along LAC line of actual control on the May 22 and May 23 and diffuse the current situation in the eastern Ladakh. And the source have confirmed to news agencies ANI that parallel diplomatic channels in New Delhi and Beijing will also be working towards a peaceful resolution. Since the beginning of the May, several aggressive incidents have been taken in the Ladakh by the Chinese army along with LAC. And while the Indian and the Chinese military commanders are talking face to face in Ladakh, and the diplomatic efforts are underway in the country capital to resolve the situation of Indian army has been effectively responding by building and deploying its own capability in eastern Ladakh, including the Galwan sector. Okay. The source have told the news agency that no compromise will be made with the regard to maintaining the sanctity of India's border, that while it is defending believes in a peace, it is a firm that resolve when it is come to defense of its territory. And this has been reflected in spirit even the four or more agreements between China and India, and which have historically formed the mechanism for the border management. The mechanism are still in place and working at the bilateral level of two them of 1993 and 1996. And is a CBM, confidence building measures, in place since 2005 and border agreement in 2013. And these agreements form the framework under which of the borders talks have been held between India and China has not result in the full-blown conflicts, and they also be figured in the summit level meetings held between the PM Modi's and the President Jinping and previous prime ministers and presidents of two countries. However, this is not the first time of Chinese army has taken an aggressive postures in these regions and provoked the face-off with Indian troops since 1962 China-India war. So you can see the pictures. The Indian and Chinese military commander are talking face to face. Okay, and there was a Sikkim 2008 and this Pang in 2013 and the Chumar in 2014 and Doklam by the for the first in 1962 and 2017. China has not been the comfortable with the construction of the Darbuk-Shyok and DBOV road in the Indian side of LAC and the construction of the 255-kilometer road in the beginning 2010 was to be the completed by 2014. But after several hiccups and the entire road finally was ready for use recently, and the current phase of is believed to be a reaction to be India-Australia and the building infrastructure in the Ladakh and the increase in the local civilian activity on the Indian side of LAC. For the China is the irritant because India is the rapidly narrowing down the infrastructure gap in Ladakh, while India has not obstructed in any manner the activity of Chinese on their side of the LAC, whether it putting up of the prefabricated structure on increasing their patrolling. The Chinese patrol units have been aggressive in expressing their discussing to the Indian Army activity on DB of road, and this has been a strategic area, and the Indian Army has and will continue to respond as the need of arises, say sources. And the ramping up of the national security apparatus post Kargil that include the eastern sector has been cause of vacillation for the Chinese, and the heightened interference with Indian patrolling along LAC by the Chinese post 2000 so it became the hyper aggressive in Doklam standoff. So you can this is the point where the issue was generated India between China at this time in the news present times. Okay, where the both soldiers fighting each others, and this is news coming, and this is the Pangok Lake, and this is the point where the Indian army and Chinese army face to face fighting. Okay, if this phase of Eastern Ladakh is a similarly strategic, then sources indicate that army well prepared for bringing in the required force to be ensure that it's the national security. It is not compromise even for a minute. And Chinese has a built up its a force along its side of LAC is evidence from the satellite imagery and available in open source intelligence data. It is not hesitated in pushing its troops back and forth of LAC to provoke the response from the Indian sides. And these mind games are often played by the troops, and when they are eyeball to eyeball levels in non demarcated borders like LAC. However, the sources indicate that this times the Chinese sides seem to be playing more than normal eye games, and hence the Indian army has moved man the material as much as more than is required the clear view of the Chinese army. And it is incorrect need to assume, say sources, that Indian army was caught napping due to the COVID-19 conditions. Those conditions prevails on both sides LAC, and the fact that both sides has to say that troops levels are the lower inaccurate assumptions, say sources. The Indian armed forces were prepared for the scenario that this standoff could not be short-term one. If anything, Doklam episode has been learning experience for India in that China does not back down easily. No international badgering work on them, and they like to keep testing India on how long and how much pressure it can be with its stand. Okay, thank you guys for being us, and I hope you will understand what I want to convey with you, because I searched the various material which is very useful to understand the dispute between India and China. This dispute is a very long dispute coming from 1962 Indo-Sino War during the British times. So I think this is the point where it is the very necessary to understand. So I give the all the fact and figures and images so you can understand very easily. And at last, I'm just saying, if you like my this video, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends, and hit the like button if you get notification for upcoming my video. Thank you guys. Bye bye. Jai Hind.